Africa are doing amazing stuff, from raising funds to providing solutions to the continent. Today, we are at the Google space to speak to the Google's head of startup ecosystem Africa, Folarin Ayagbesi. A lot of persons are saying that AI will take away your job. Is that true? Well, you're about to find out. Has AI taken away your job already? Maybe not yet, because I'm still working, and lots of you are still working. My name is Victor Ake, and this is Tech Talk on Rave TV. Come with me, let's begin the conversation together. As Ella stated in the intro, Google is known to be the one-stop search for almost anything that you want. And so to further give us in-depth of that particular conversation, of course, and more on what Google is doing for Africa and the society at large, is the head of Startup Ecosystem Africa, Folarin Ayagbesi. Hi, Folarin. Welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Victor. Happy to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. So let's quickly start off with the conversation. Help us understand what Google is doing at the AI First program and what it's about.
Thank you, Victor. The Google for Startups Accelerator AI First program is our inaugural attempt to support African startups, specifically working on artificial intelligence solutions and solving problems across the African continent. What we like to do is support these startups with the best of Google in terms of our people, our methodologies, and our advanced technologies. We'll support them with mentoring or mentorship, training, and things such as cloud credits, up to $350,000 in cloud credits.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. And how do they access the cloud credit as well?
Well, from being selected, they are essentially eligible to be part of the Cloud for Startups program.
Okay.
So we select them, mentor them, train them, and give them the credits. What they do is, what that helps them do is, think of it this way. You know, as a business owner, the first issue you have is keeping the lights on, paying your rent. Right? For a tech startup, what that rent looks like is your cloud services. So we help them think about other parts of their solution as opposed to the rent part. So we support them with these cloud credits. It's a rolling base of over 2 years, of 100,000 in the first year, 150,000 in the first year, and the rest in the second year.
Okay, that's amazing. Now, of course, in August, Google opened up applications for the inaugural Google for Startup Accelerator, which is basically the AI First program, and has now selected 11 African startups for the cohort. Why has Google, chosen to invest in artificial intelligence as a focus for this program?
Thanks so much. And to clarify something first is that we are in our 5th year of running accelerator programs on the African continent. We've actually run 8 programs until now, and this being our 9th program. The zeitgeist of the moment in 2023 is artificial intelligence. And what better time to support artificial intelligence startups than in Africa than now? But it's beyond just supporting them because of the zeitgeist. It's also it's an answer to the question when people say, why bother with climate change? Why bother with artificial intelligence in Africa? It's to say that we cannot leave Africa on the backbench, and we cannot leave these problems or these conversations for tomorrow. We'd rather start the conversations now, and with the power of and, we'll solve for the hunger and the poverty and the likes, but also contribute to the conversations around climate change, around artificial intelligence, and more.
Okay, and looking at the shortlist, of course, of the people that were selected, was it determined by people who uses AI in their businesses?
Yeah, so the shortlist is based on our 4 assessment criteria.
Okay.
One being the product market fits, the second being the startup program fits, the third one being the founder potential, and the fourth, which is most relevant to this program, the AI depth or AI usage of these startups. Now, I can run you through each of these different criteria.
All right.
For the product market fit, it's essentially saying, is this solution relevant to the African context? And after that, can it be scaled globally?
Okay.
If yes, it makes sense to be a part of the program. The second one is startup program fits, meaning that are we able to support this startup, and are they relevant to the conversation we'll be having in our program? If yes, then they go a step further. The third one is the founder potential, because we understand that founders play a significant role in the success of a business. Up to almost 70% of startups fail as a result of the founders. So we thoroughly assess the founders and their potential, and then that is another tick. Now, the fourth part is the AI depth, artificial intelligence depth or usage. And that could come across in the form of building solutions leveraging AI for individual consumers, or building solutions for other startups, other businesses to also leverage.
Okay. Oh, that's amazing to look into. If you look at, you did mention something about startups, and we have lots of tech startups basically coming up, both in Nigeria and Africa, and of course, this could be a good way for all of them to leverage and scale through as much as they could, basically. Looking at the selection of the African startups, was it also based on the startup looking to use artificial intelligence to solve local challenges, say in Nigeria and of course in Africa?
Of course, of course.
More specific to that?
Of course. So it's two things there. Yes, short answer, yes. We looked at startups that are solving for Africa, but we also looked at startups solving for the rest of the world, other parts of the world. And I'll give an example. A startup called Vizi.ai. With their platform, they allow people, anybody, build a website by typing a few lines of text in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
That is relevant to SMBs, other startups in Africa, but that is also relevant to the rest of the world. Anybody in the US, the UK, the global West, Asia, wherever, can leverage this sort of platform and build a website in a few minutes.
So beyond being someone who can code, which is of course what techies are known for. So anyone who basically wants to build a website is supposed to get the knowledge of coding. And you're saying the AI that is being brought on board now would take away that particular and then give you something more easy to work on.
Exactly. So even myself or you or anybody, the audience can write a few lines and build websites just with that.
And that's also amazing, giving lots of people who are not techies, now we can be referred to as tech bros, because I can build a website right now by just imputing a few things and all of that.
Exactly.
So can you also shed more light on the details of the participation of the founders in the 10-week accelerator program?
Sure. So it's a very intense 10-week period, if I do say so myself. The process is this, right? It's 10 weeks of 3 boot camps.
Okay.
1 boot camp, a break, another boot camp, a break, and the final boot camp, which is the graduation week. And each of these boot camps have themes, right? So earlier I mentioned that we take them through mentorship workshops, right, and then I guess access to the cloud credits. Now, I'd explain it this way. The first boot camp is themed tech and product, where we look at the AI and the technology of the startup. We look at the product or service, the solution. We break it apart with the mentorship and workshops, and we bring it back together to refine it.
Okay.
In the second boot camp, we say it's tech and people. Again, understanding that founders play a significant role in the success of the business. So we look at the tech again because we're a technical program, heavily technical program. Mm-hmm. Then we look at the founders, we make them cry, we break them apart, and we bring them back together. Yeah. And in the third boot camp, which is tech and growth, we say, you know what, the product is good now, the founders are great, how do we help them scale? So what we then do is we run a demo day, we connect them to our investor network, and we have a graduation ceremony, okay, where we say now they are fit, or they have more refined products, greater founders, and a solid solution that's ready to hit the market, okay, or that can do even more in the market if they've already hit the market.
Let's talk about the dynamics of the program. Will the participant be physical or virtual, or is it going to be both?
Sure. Well, this program is a hybrid. We're looking at a hybrid model for this program. Okay. In our first few, again, we've run programs for the past 5 years. In our first few accelerators, we ran purely in person, where the founders would come and be immersed in an African market. They would engage with one another, and then they would go back to their respective countries. But thanks or no thanks to COVID, we started to explore virtual accelerators. But what we're doing now is bringing back a hybrid model where the first and the second boot camps are going to be virtual, and the final one will be in person. We're looking to have this in the AI Research Center, just connecting the startups to Google's experts, engineers, and researchers in the AI Research Center in Accra, Ghana, for knowledge exchange and cross-border collaboration, to foster cross-border collaboration, okay, between the startups.
So there's been talk about gender equality and all of that, especially when it comes, also when it comes to the tech world. There are talks that the female are not so considered when it comes to the technology world as it were. Are there special considerations for the female tech people to also be participants of this program?
That's a very wonderful question. We're extremely particular about women representation in all our programs. And I think about earlier this year when we ran our inaugural Women Founders Accelerator. Why we did this was because we saw that even if we had seen growth in support to women founders over the years, for the first time in maybe 4 or 5 years, we saw a decline last year.
Okay.
And that struck us, and we said, you know what, we have to run a Women Founders Accelerator. It's for one, to support the women founders, but for two, to signal others in the ecosystem to support women founders. Now, bringing it back to this program, we are very intentional about that. And it's more than just ticking a box or a checkbox when you're supporting women founders. So yes, we were very intentional in the selection process. We looked at not only women founders specifically, but the founding teams of the different startups, the compositions of the different startups, right? We looked at purely women founded businesses, the mixed founded businesses, and the women in leadership for these startups. And we took that into consideration in the selection process.
Okay, so if you look at statistics, are we going to have more women tech startups than men in this particular program, or is there's going to be a balance to that?
Well, unfortunately, I don't know if the word is unfortunately, but in terms of where we are with the 11 startups, we had fewer women founded startups in this particular cohort.
Okay.
But this is also, when you think about the systemic and institutional inequities that women face, right? And especially in the tech space, this is also, our application pool was a reflection of that, right? However, so I give an example, right? We received over 500 applications for the program. Less than 20% of the 500 were by women-founded businesses.
Okay.
But in the final selection, we had closer to 50% women founders, women-founded businesses in the 11.
Okay.
So that also speaks to our intentionality in the selection process.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the success stories. Just like you mentioned, this is the 5th time that we're having this. So from the 1st to the 2nd to the 3rd and to the 4th, what has been the success story thus far?
Sure, it's the 5th year. Correction, is the 5th year, and this is our 9th class.
Okay.
I think about a lot of popular names in the ecosystem these days, like the Paystack.
Okay.
Paystack actually went through the Launchpad Accelerator, which is what we were formerly called. A couple of years ago, they were acquired for $200 million US, for example. Flutterwave, one of the six unicorns in sub-Saharan Africa, went through our program. Their valuation is about $2-3 billion right now, for example. PiggyVest, a startup that has become a household name, right, not even beyond the tech ecosystem, went through our program. They're enabling individuals like you and me save for several things, and much more. We have startups in the health tech, fintech, ed tech, logistics space that have gone on to raise significant amounts of funding. In terms of numbers, these startups have gone on to create over 3,000 jobs in the past 5 years, right? In terms of funding, they've gone on to raise hundreds of millions of dollars in funding over the past 5 years. When we think about funding, it's always so abstract and we don't understand the implications of that. It goes beyond the funding the startups to help them scale their businesses. It goes to the trickle effects of that funding to the different communities that these founders and their staff are in. You think about a founder raising $1 million within a certain community, going on to employ 5-10 more people, that will go on to employ more people, will go on to create more jobs, will go on to bring more socioeconomic development and improvement to their communities. That is the trickle effect of this program and a number of other programs that we're running as Google, such as the Hustle Academy, our work with the developers, and much more.
Okay. And some person says that up until the launch of this program, they never heard about this program. So what can Google do differently to ensure that the information is out there to everyone?
All right. We will help them lift that rock that they're under and pull them out so they can hear about this program and much more.
All right. That question was answered with a parable. Let's go to the next. What are some of the challenges, of course, that startups are facing in Africa?
Sure. So we've conducted research on this over the past couple of years, and we like to bucket these challenges into four buckets. The first one is access to capital and finance. The second is access to markets or additional markets. The third is favorable policy and infrastructure. And the fourth is talent, hiring and talent. Now, the first one, in terms of the challenge, it's simple, right? Africa receives 1% or less than 1% of global funding, VC funding specifically, right now in the tech space, right? That is a very big challenge for looking to solve problems for 1.2 or 1.3 billion people, right? Access to markets, it's extremely difficult to do business across the African continent, let alone between the African continent and the global West. There's a very big challenge in that.
Okay.
The third is the policy and infrastructure. Yes, now we've seen the AFCC agreement, but also there's still infrastructural gaps in terms of our internet penetration, smartphone access, and the likes that impede the progress that tech startups specifically can make. And the fourth being talent. We have just about, I think, 720,000 developers across the African continent to service millions of businesses. It's impossible for them to be enough. The numbers are inadequate for the number of businesses we have. So there's quite the shortage of technical talent as well to support these startups. So these are some of the challenges.
Very interesting. So how do you think that these challenges can be solved?
Access to capital, someone should throw money at us, right? I think of it this way, right? Okay, I'll be very serious now, sorry. For the access to capital, it's something very simple. There's no benevolence in funding. It's that they say in a myriad of challenges, opportunities abound. There's a number of opportunities that abound across the African continent. A lot of it is we need to do better at our storytelling and amplify the good work that others, our predecessors, have done and others are currently doing to attract more funding into the continent. In terms of markets, we need to ease the cross-border collaboration and allow for more trade missions, allow for more exchange between businesses in similar markets, different but similar markets. For the policy and infrastructure, we can only do so much. We need others to take the signal and support in terms of internet penetration and the smartphone access. We need the government to also do more, but that is not my conversation to have. And on the last bit, talents, so hiring and talents, it's that we need more trainers in the ecosystem, actually uplifting people, attracting people to STEM, attracting them to tech. The training could be at whatever the 0 to 1 level or 1 to 3 level, whatever the level, but attracting them to tech so that we can fix the pipeline issue. Right now, there's a shortage of, for example, senior developers.
Right.
We see that the pyramid is bottom heavy. So we see a number of junior developers, but the problem is this: the talent is expensive and they have no access to projects that can allow them to go to mid to senior developers, right? We need more opportunity for them to grow into mid to senior developers, but we also need to beef up the bottom of the pyramid in terms of the junior developers as well, through more training by other collaborators, other ecosystem organizations or ecosystem support organizations like ours.
Talking about attraction, basically, what do you think can be done to ensure that young startups as well could see this is the beauty of the tech world, and this can basically attract us to want to come into the system? Now, what are specific things that you think could be those attractions?
I don't have one answer for that question, right? That's the honest truth. But I think we can do a better job at storytelling.
Okay.
To show them that, look, knowledge and good work can be rewarded. That tech is a tool, but it's also the future. So they should come in now, and there's no such thing as a layman. There's nobody that's too lame for tech. Right? Tech is not just the developers behind the laptop or computer screen. It's also the DevOps. It's also the tech ops. It's also there's so many roles beyond just developers that people can actually, or everybody can fit into, that they should consider.
So there's been calls for collaboration between private sectors, of course, and government sectors, and then African countries, especially Nigerians, have also looked to the government to say we need the government to fund the tech space. Are there things that Google is doing at this point in time to ensure that there's a partnership, collaboration with the government, both in Nigeria and Africa generally, to ensure that, well, there is something for startups?
So, again, I can't speak too much on this. However, when you think about the mandate of the government, right, to create technical talent, to create jobs, right, we are directly, indirectly supporting those mandates through the programs like the Hustle Academy Fund, through the likes of Google for Startups Accelerator, through the likes of the Impact Challenge we had a couple of years ago, and much more. And a lot of initiatives we have around the continent, right, be it Nigeria, South Africa, Kenya, you name it. right? These help support their mandates to create jobs through either the direct or indirect jobs, for example. But beyond these, we also support them in the conversations around things like the Nigeria Startup Act, or most recently with the Honorable Minister for Comms, Innovation and Digital Economy, supporting the conversations around how to increase the number of trainers in the ecosystem, how to train more people, how to bridge the gap between talent and jobs, and much more. So we're playing across the entire spectrum in terms of supporting the government to achieve their objectives.
All right, thank you so much, Folarin, for those thoughts. Before we let you go now, tell us, what are your favorite 5 tech innovations globally?
Wow. God. My favorite tech innovations globally are very likely Google products,
Okay.
funny enough. I think about growing up, we had to ask Okada men for directions when we drove into places we hadn't been to in the past. But now, with Google Maps, with the few clicks on our phone, we're able to find wherever we want in Nigeria or whenever we travel outside of the country. Right? With the likes of Lens and Translate, I think about how whenever I step into a country that isn't English speaking primarily, I'm able to communicate, I'm able to find my bearings and move around very easily, right? I think about the power of search, and most recently Bard, how people that know me know that I'm an extremely curious person, right? So if I'm having an argument, or you ask me about something, I'll pick up my phone and I'll do a quick search. Helps me answer any question, and I know everything now thanks to search. And if I don't know it, I have search, so I know it. Right? That's 3. 2 more.
Yeah, we're getting there.
The air conditioner, because I can't stand being too hot. And 1 more, YouTube, because it's my university after university. It's my school beyond school. I learn everything else that I need to visually with YouTube.
Awesome. As final thoughts, your advice for Nigerian techies or African techies generally, those coming into the IT world, or what will be your advice to them?
It's day 0. It's still day 0. Yesterday was day 0, today is day 0, and tomorrow will be day 0. There's no better time to start tech, right, than today. What that looks like is you picking up your phone, doing a quick search to see. In fact, before picking up your phone, thinking about the most upsetting things that you go through every day, the challenges that people in your communities face, and then thinking about solutions to that. There's nothing new under the sun, so it's doing research and looking at similar solutions in other markets, and then thinking of how to adopt those and contextualize those for the African markets. And yeah, I think that's my advice. Get into it, get into tech, start. No one, again, I said, if I can be in tech, anyone can be in tech. No one is too lame to be in tech. Thank you.
Right, you heard it from Folarin. No one is too lame to be in tech. And of course, Folarin Ayagbisi is the Google's head of Startup Ecosystem Africa. My name is Victor Arke. Thank you so much for staying. And of course, this is Tech Talk. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Awesome.